Left of the box. And now you see the content warning of RCMP being RCMP, and it's not a joke because the RCMP was originally designed to police Indigenous peoples. Like, part of their job was to actually go in and kidnap Indigenous kids to take them away to residential schools and things of that sort. So they're part of the colonial system through and through. So can I say any of this is shocking? No. Like, the RCMP kind of needs to get dismantled there. There's no saving it. What it represents, how it was established, how it continues to function is just part of a colonial settler system that wants to control, maintain the status quo. And really, really horrible people are drawn into that line of work because they want that power, that ability to control this way, to be just horrible people without any accountability. Oh, Grand Theft Autobot. I have referred to the RCMP, where it's like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Shockingly, they are not standing for racist, but you just mentioned racist Canadian mounted pigs, which I think is also a little bit more accurate. So, Coquitlam Mounties could face dismissal over shocking group chat. So I'm going to play this video, and then there's a little bit more from a different article that I want to cover. Yeah, content warning. Some of the things that they said in this, it's really bad. It's really bad.
Coquitlam RCMP members, like other Mounties across the country, must abide by a code of conduct. But court documents obtained by Global News reveal allegations of serious violations by 3 members, allegations involving conversations so racist and misogynistic, they're all facing dismissal.
I mean, it's scary to think that police officers, law enforcement officers, who are supposed to be professionals, have attitudes and values and behave and talk in ways that are so contemptuous of women, contemptuous of racial minorities.
Constables Philip Dick, Ian Solvin, and Merced Mesbah have been suspended since June 2021. An Information to Obtain document, or ITO, alleges that in group chats on WhatsApp, Signal, and on RCMP mobile data terminals, officers made comments such as,
And the fact that they're making these comments to each other privately on something that they should know by now could be released to public, and the things that they said on it are really bad. It's kind of like, what are they saying to each other in the locker room, you know, in the patrol car together? Like, how bad does it get when they know nothing's being recorded?
"We gotta find a black guy today. This is your competency. I have to taser a black guy." Constable Dick has said, "Why do black guys, they're not picking cotton anymore. What's their problem?" Members of the group belittled Indigenous people, talking about how they were stupid or drunk and saying they have unfortunate bodies and all have fetal alcohol syndrome. All 3 constables appeared to use goldfish as a slur for Asian people, responding to a domestic violence call where the victim was bleeding from the mouth. "Well, she's a effing dumb bitch. Should have worn a mouth guard."
How were they recruited? How were they trained? What's the culture of the force?
An investigation was...
I think we have a pretty good idea as to what the culture of the force is. This type of behavior, these types of comments aren't exactly discouraged.
Was launched after another officer made a report to RCMP superiors, but failure to make proper legal filings and meet deadlines have resulted in some allegations being thrown out.
But there is a 1-year limitation period, which is the proceedings must be instituted within 1 year of the RCMP finding out.
Constables Philip Dick, Ian Solvin, and Merced Mesbah are due to face code of conduct hearings in March, nearly 4 years after their alleged conduct violations were first reported. Catherine Urquhart, Global News.
So a little bit more about this story here from CBC. Atrocious comments by RCMP officers alleged in internal probe. Search warrant obtained by CBC claims officers joked about sexual assault and tasering Black people. Warning, this story contains offensive language. Again, it's one of those things, like, if this is what they're typing out to people on devices, like, it doesn't matter if it's supposed to be private. They have to know that this can go public by some means. Like, it could be hacked or an information request put through. They have to know that when you do it like that, it's there to be found. And so if this is what they're typing out to each other, what are they saying to each other in private? In one private chat group conversation, a Mountie was accused of saying a new female employee was, again, this is bad language, was overweight and insinuating that the shape of her vagina was visible through her clothing. In another, a second RCMP officer allegedly bragged that tasering unarmed Black people and called a sexual assault investigation stupid, drawing comments from other members of the online group who made fun of the victim and said she's a dumb Mexican C-word. An investigator with the RCMP Professional Standards Unit details those allegations and many more in a search warrant sworn to obtain evidence now being used to call for the firing of 3 Coquitlam Mounties for violating the force's code of conduct. The CBC has obtained a copy of the search warrant, which recounts behaviors which led officer who sparked the investigation to complain to RCMP brass about what he saw as atrocious and racist and horrible activity in a private group operating on the Signal messaging app. So at least we have one of their own calling them out. Like, it's that bad. Because normally it's like, ooh, the thin blue line, you don't call out each other. But how can you have any self-respect and see those comments and not report it? Like, how many others saw those comments, knew about those comments, and said nothing? The documents revealed that investigators also reviewed 600,000 messages posted to the RCMP's internal mobile data chat logs, finding evidence of frequently offensive usage by the 3 officers facing termination of homophobic and racist slurs. The review had identified a variety of comments that were chauvinistic in nature with strong air of superiority and included flippant or insulting remarks about clients, including objectifying women, supervisors, colleagues, policy, and the RCMP as a whole, the warrant said. Among the details contained in the search warrant were allegations of the officers facing discipline joked about domestic violence victim, calling the victim. We heard that. The whistleblower, Constable Sam Saudi claimed that outside of the private chat group, members of the group also belittled Indigenous people, talking about how they were stupid or drunk and saying they have, that was said in the thing. They would say, "We're not going to the reserve." The search warrant claims Sodi told investigators, "We're not going there because we're not going to help those people." According to the court documents, Sodi was posted to Coquitlam in 2019. As part of the process, he wrote a letter about wanting to work in urban center and help at-risk youth that didn't have role models, the warrant claims. But Sodi claimed that on his second day of work, Dick, his trainer, asked him, "Are you a cool brown guy or are you a Surrey brown guy? Because in that letter, you're whiny like, oh, I want to help brown people." Shit. Sorry, I didn't read. I skimmed this article ahead of time. And yeah. Sodi claimed there are 2 chat groups for members of the Coquitlam Detachment assignment to Port Coquitlam. One of the members of the Watch and a second private group that began on WhatsApp but then moved to Signal. He said he was told once he was worthy of the private chat group. "We'll add you to it." The officer claimed he was admitted to the private chat group on March 2021 but left after a few days because of the constant negativity. He said he was then accused of not being a team member and encouraged to return. Yeah, you gotta support us in our horrific statements. According to the search warrant, Sodi complained to superiors in May 2021, and a chief superintendent mandated an investigation into 5 Mounties, including Corporal, who was accused of failing to take measures to prevent misconduct. I just racially profiled pulled over a car. The probe initially focused on text communications between RCMP's own laptop, known as mobile data terminals. Investigators reviewed messages between the 5 men from January 2019 until May 2021. When members of the Signal chat group realized there was an investigation, they opined that the investigation was probably about MDT chats, since they were private chat group was kept among the trusted, and there's no way this got out, the warrant says. Examples cited from the RCMP computers include statements like, sorry about this, why do brown guys have unusually high-pitched voices? As an idiot woman would say, toxic. And I just racially profiled pulled over a car. A review of the chat logs also allegedly found that 3 officers facing termination appeared to use goldfish as a slur for Asian people. For example, they talked about how... Okay, you guys can see it on the screen. I don't want to say that. How a Korean church in the detachment was that, and were bad drivers, a common Asian stereotype, the warrant said. The search warrant was obtained so investigators with Coquitlam, RCMP's professional standards unit, could access records of the Signal chat group, seizing the contents of Sodi's phone. In order to convince a judge to greenlight the search, investigators asked Sodi not to read messages directly from the chat, but to detail the chat from the best of his recollection and only refer to the chat as necessary to aid his memory. A judge granted the search warrant in April 2022, nearly a year after Sodi spoke with investigators. The more than 3 years that have passed since Sodi first raised concerns have already played into the disciplinary proceedings. In May, an RCMP conduct board dismissed allegations against the 4th Coquitlam Mountie, who admitted to his involvement in the Signal group because of the proceedings had stretched beyond a 12-month limitation period prescribed by the RCMP Act. So if you take too long investigating these things, they get off scot-free. According to the decision to dismiss, Constable Cameron Lang self-reported his participation in the chat in May 2021. I disclosed to the inspector that some of the content contributed by other members was highly offensive, and I wish to also act on my duty to report him, Constable Cameron Lang said in an affidavit. I said that I believed my contributions were not as offensive. Yeah, I was only slightly racist, sexist, misogynistic, homophobic, but I wasn't as bad as them, as what others had said, but that my contributions would not look so good. Yeah, being just partially all of that thing, not a good look. According to a provincial court decision relating to the search warrant posted this week, the conduct board has stayed one of the allegations against the 3 members, as well as the second allegation against Mesbah, because they were filed outside of the 1-year limitation period. This is the culture of the RCMP. It's the culture of a lot of police forces across the country, because quite often they're not held accountable for this behavior. They get away with it. It's known and nobody reports it because of the thin blue line thing, or if somebody does report it, they're seen as the bad guy. You know, they're targeted by other officers. You know, if you report it, you risk losing your job, you risk harassment, you risk a whole lot of other things if you dare report this type of behavior. But this is systemic. This is built into it. This is, you know, this is by design. Gets these people into it. Like, the whole thing needs to be abolished. Defund, dismantle, reinvent. We can't have these organizations. Like, we keep on doing this patchwork to it. Like, oh, well, we'll have outside investigators for certain things. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do. No, it has to go. The whole thing has to go. There is no patching up something that is this bad. That there are people that are supposed to be in law enforcement that protect others with those types of attitudes. Like, as if a woman sees this, then how can she trust she's going to be, taken care of, received, respected by these people? Or if there's any Asian person, brown person, and they see this, how can they believe that they're going to be taken seriously or treated with respect? Because they're not by these people. And these are just the ones that got caught. Like I said, if this is what they're saying on private chats, I can't imagine they're so dense that they wouldn't realize this could get out to the public because they're typing it electronically. If this is what they're doing on that, what are they doing in private? Like in just conversations? And this type of behavior, this type of rhetoric is so ingrained, and it has tragic outcomes. This plays a part in their policing. Group condemns RCMP after fatal shooting of young mom in front of her child. An advocacy group is condemning the RCMP after Surrey Mounties shot and killed a young mother in Cloverdale Thursday morning. Authorities say officers initially arrived at the home at 180 A Street near just for a disturbance call. Police opened fire upon learning the victim had locked herself in a room with a toddler and was holding a weapon near that toddler. So then why are you opening fire if you know there is a toddler in the room? The toddler was not injured, while the woman was pronounced dead at the scene. The Battered Women's Support Service called the RCMP-involved shooting unacceptable. Since we believe RCMP are trained to use the least lethal option when dealing with difficult situations, we expect they will, says Angela Maureen McDougall, Executive Director of BWSS. All too often, we witness police escalate situations to the point where they believe they need to use lethal violence. McDougall believes the increase in police killings of people within Canada over the last 4 or 5 years is directly linked to officers frequently escalating situations and issues of race. As it happens, the victim was Afro-Latina, which is to say she is a Black woman who speaks Spanish, McDougall said. According to BWSS, the woman was a newcomer from Colombia who had recently obtained her permanent residency in Canada. That is what happens when you have people that talk like that, policing the public. Would this have happened if she was a white middle-class woman? Probably not, but the misogyny is also pretty rich there too. This is Canada. It's always been Canada. And there needs to be a reckoning. We need to be held accountable. I appreciate what this country has done for me in my situation and stuff. The fact that I can be who I am because of where I live. But what this country is, what it represents, needs to be taken down. We can't have this. This is just horrific. It's absolutely horrific that there are people within police forces that would say things like that just, I don't even understand how you can be in the mind frame to think of some of those things. Like how horrid and just infected of a person you need to be to think those things in the first place. And then to have those people policing the public? Nah, it's gotta go. It's all gotta go. The RCMP, the police forces, defund, dismantle, reinvent. And while we're at it, why don't we just get rid of the parliamentary system, the colonial system that we have that restricts what kind of people can actually get into office? Like, Everything needs to be rebuilt in this country in order for it to be the country it pretends to be. Like, in order for Canada to be the country it tries to teach others it is, everything has to be redone. Like, you can't keep on patching this up. It just needs to be remade completely in order for it to be even close to the country it pretends to be.